So a performance requirement is one of the most popular tools of industrial policy. It tells the investor that comes to your country, yes, you can come into my country, and yes, perhaps you can have incentives when you come in the way of subsidies or other preferential treatment, tax treatment. But in order to get that, in order to get entry or to get those preferences, you have to do something for me. There's a lot of difficult decisions for governments to make, and it's not always easy for them to make that. They don't have their full information. If they do get it right, industrial policy and performance requirements are a ticket to creating long-lasting domestic firms, national champions that can really drive economic performance in the long run. One of my favorite success stories in industrial policy is the Brazilian program for ethanol. So Brazil was a huge importer of fossil fuels to run its automobiles, its transport fleet, and decided that this was terrible for its balance of payments. We grow all this sugarcane anyway. Why not transform the sugarcane into ethanol instead of into sugar and put that in our cars? It sounds simple, but it involved an incredible amount of government support, transition, infrastructure building, subsidies, government regulations, a whole suite of measures designed to try to push that industry forward. And now you see Brazil as an extremely successful producer of ethanol. They run almost their entire fleet on ethanol, so they don't import that oil anymore. And moreover, they're the biggest exporter of ethanol in the world. A very successful example. While they may seem straightforward, it may seem simple, run into trouble in countries that have signed investment agreements. Some of the more modern, most of the modern agreements actually prohibit certain types of performance requirements. So the agreement just signed between Canada and the European Union prohibits any joint venture requirements, any local content requirements, any technology transfer requirements. Pretty much any form of industrial policy measure is banned under the CETA. Not all of the investment agreements are quite that restrictive, but all of the modern ones contain some sorts of restrictions that impair the government's ability to use performance requirements or industrial policy more broadly. If you're a developing country, you're trying to catch up. That's your job in the world. You need to alleviate poverty, you need to develop, and you do that by catching up. You really can't do that without some kind of government intervention. It's not going to happen if you just make the investment climate nice and hope the investors come. They will not come. If you have natural resources, they'll come and exploit your resources and they'll go away again. They won't have any linkages into your economy. You look at the history of economic development, and successful economic development does not happen without strategic government intervention. And if you ban that kind of intervention or restrict it greatly, you're impairing the ability of developing countries to catch up.